So, gentlemen, in your own words, briefly but definitively in your own words, what's this Quotes for Life all about?
Well, I could start. As I mentioned before, I started doing this when I came back from a trip to what is a holy land to many religions. And it was interesting to me when I was walking through this country, through Israel. On a normal work day, people would just pass each other by, wouldn't say a word to each other. But on Friday and on Sunday, people changed. They everywhere you walked, someone was saying, good Shabbat Shalom, and it resonated with me that there's something to be said for reaching out to people. And I realized that for me, it was very intellectually stimulating to look at other people's ideas sometimes, their quotes, and learn from them. Learn from other people who have more knowledge than myself, perhaps, and many times they do, a lot more knowledge. So that's how it started for me, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Well, for me, this represents something that's ongoing, at least in terms of how I've lived my life. And I think those who know me well know that, because I've subscribed to the view that, and here's a quote, that as I learn without guile, I impart without envy. I do not hide her riches. Knowledge is who we are, and the things we learn and the things we know, whether through books or through lived experience or some combination thereof. It's meant to be shared. If you don't share it, it doesn't really mean a whole lot at the end of the day. And I've always been of the view, whether with my children or with my friends, the importance of being able to share those ideas, because it's only in that way that I can ultimately learn more about myself, as well as learn more about others.
Beautiful. Howard, did you want to add something, or are you good, my friend?
Oh, no, I'm fine.
Good. So, and it's profound how you both describe it, and I say very explicitly profound because it resonates for me, the power of the quotes as well as the power of the person sharing it, and how it resonates for them, and it exposes who they are, for lack of better words, in that expression. So definitively, as we talked about it, right? We said, are there 3 quotes that you are able to identify that would encapsulate wisdom that you would like to pass on to future generations? And I honestly can't remember who said it at this point. So perhaps if you remember, someone said we all owe nature a death. I can't remember who said it for the life of me at this point, but that death that we owe, we also owe nature and everyone else something to pass on. So very, very resonant. And what we said is 3 quotes encapsulate and pass on what we've learned, what resonates for us, to future generations. And we're going to explore those. And excellent.
Yeah.
Howard, these are the 3, my good friend.
Yes.
And please share your thoughts.
Again, and I've learned myself, I always said there's always something new to learn. And I've learned so much from the 2 of you and the dialogue we've had. I thank you both. But when my first quote from Heschel, talking about what am I here for? That's the one question that encompasses everything. And then looking at the next quote saying, there's only one man, only one man ever understood me, and he didn't understand me. That's yourself. And then finally talking about this indifference and I like Josh's interpretation of the equation aspect of it. And to me, they all tie together. What am I here for? How do I understand myself? These, the constant struggle to look at life and make meaning of it. Even especially, as you said, in this world of COVID, where we've seen so many young, healthy people, including my friends who have passed at such a young age with so much to give, you question, why we're here, and this, So to me, my three quotes do tie together, and this discussion has made me a better person, be understanding and probing some of the things we've done on these podcasts.
Thank you, Howard. Thank you ever so much, Josh. Anything to chime in on, my friend?
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is, having been a part of these three discussions and doing it with the two of you, just confirms for me what is so utterly lacking in our world today, and what we need to recapture. The whole idea of being able to have a meaningful exchange of ideas amongst three people who care about one another,
Mm-hmm.
who care about the importance of ideas, and who know how to love, who know how to be a part of something that's larger than themselves.
Yeah.
And that they understand that as T.S. Eliot wrote, that the giving famishes the craving.
Mm-hmm.
And that when you give to others, you're also giving to yourself.
Yeah.
The three quotes that I chose is not the common thread there for me, and how they are inextricably tied to one another is in a number of ways, but for me in two significant ways. One is that all three of them are philosophers.
Mm-hmm.
Three of the greatest philosophers in the history of Western thought. Why did I choose them? I chose Plato first because he was the first of the great philosophers. As Alfred North Whitehead, a great 20th century philosopher in his own right, had said, there is Plato, and everyone else who follows him is a footnote. And leaving aside his somewhat hyperbolic statement, though I get where he was going with that, what Hegel and Kant and other great philosophers all have in common was the fact that they understood the importance of having that great exchange of ideas, and having that exchange of ideas across the centuries. A dialogue that no longer exists in the contemporary world, but a dialogue that had existed for over 2,000 years. It's not altogether dissimilar from the Talmud, the great ancient texts that were created between the 1st and the 6th century CE, where even in the construction of those texts, where the great rabbinic sages are arguing with one another, it's structured in such a way as if all those rabbis are sitting in somebody's living room having this great discussion with one another, when in fact they're having that dialogue across the centuries, just as the great philosophers have. So it's the importance of having that dialogue so that we can truly share with one another who we are and what we want to represent. It leads me ineluctably to the great statement from the Book of Solomon, in which he writes, as I learn without guile, I impart without envy. I do not hide her riches. Share what you know and share who you are. If you do those two things in life, your life will have had great meaning.
Mm-hmm.
And the other part that I'll leave you with is the importance of studying the past. As Alexis de Tocqueville said, the only way to understand ourselves and as a people is by understanding our birth, by understanding our origins. they all recognize that. So that truth, while not historicist, is still historical. And the importance of being able to go back and understand our roots, where we came from, will allow us to better direct us as to where we're going to go.
Excellent. Howard, anything relative to Josh's sharing?
No, again, I learned so much just from that dialogue and listening to Josh and yourself, and no, I'm just so happy I was able to participate.
Thank you both. Thank you both. So you've got my three, which we have definitively discussed, and I want to kind of weave a little bit into the thought around the rendition of them as a whole. I think you both know me well enough. I'm very pragmatic, excessively pragmatic. And I'm very keen on really dealing with reality, human nature, and who we are individually, collectively, our identities, our culture, if you will.
Right.
A lot of people, to be very, very frank about this, a lot of people will look at what we've gone through and say, well, these are platitudes. What I say is these are not platitudes. These all have impact and translate to immediate practice in our everyday life. I've heard this statement, especially in the current situations. You know, these things that we do are peer reviewed, they like to say, as if peer review justifies whatever someone may be saying nowadays. And the reality is exactly. All you're saying is I fit in. It doesn't do much for you to say peer reviewed. So with that backdrop of pragmatism to the core, you know, the first quote is very much about soul and creation. And there's so much talk today about purpose and finding your purpose, when we really should be acknowledging we have a soul. We have the opportunity to give it form in this life. We are creators, and we should be in search of what feeds that creation and our soul. It can be extremely empowering. Looking and integrating that into the second quote, it's very much about renewal and regeneration and the reminder that we are alive. So many people talk about, well, you know, this is what I want, or this is what I need, or exactly as we've discussed, you know, I'm the victim. But there's so little talk about what I'm willing to give, exactly as we've talked about. What am I willing to sacrifice in order to seize the opportunity of this gift called life? And nothing is owed to anyone. And the second quote is a genuine reminder to renew, regenerate, refresh in our journey to create our souls. And then the third one is really the keyword of the evening around struggle and endurance. Very, very deep quote. There's so much talk about avoiding hardship, right? Everybody respectfully is looking for the easy way out, as if hardship is a punishment, when the reality is anyone who has achieved anything in giving of themselves and have had a great impact in history and the world has endured a struggle, endured a burning, and has been able to give light. A struggle so deep, as expressed in that last quote, that it burns and gives light.
You know, I love what you just said. So
You're far too kind, my man.
No, and I mean that in the fullest sense of the word, because out of that struggle comes who we are.
Yeah.
Because how we struggle is the reflection of who we are. And to use something which I know this will be a great example for Howard, because Howard is an incredible lover of the physical universe and tremendously knowledgeable of it, and has and often makes, you know, will incorporate some of that into discussions we're having, which is always great. So here you're talking about struggle, Si, and it reminded me of something, and Howard certainly knows this as well, if not better than I do, because he knows way more about that stuff than I do, which was a statement John Kennedy made at the beginning of the, at the harbinger of the space program, when he said, we're not doing these things because they're easy.
Right.
We're doing these things
Yeah.
because they're hard.
Yeah.
Right.
And if I can add, Josh, to when you look at these three quotes that I've chosen, and the summary statement for me, and the guidance, if you will, that I pass on. I mean, we've all passed on so much. We must endure, struggle, and burn to give light, and regenerate, living the gift of life as we create ourselves. And so many people, respectfully, are not taking the opportunity to create
Well, yeah,
themselves.
I agree. Doesn't that it reminds me? It reminds me of Camus' great essay, The Myth of Sisyphus. What do we learn from Sisyphus? He continually pushes the rock up the hill, only to have it constantly fall back down.
Yep.
But instead of taking the view that that it's merely futile, Camus was saying that the testimony to man's greatness doesn't reside in whether we succeed. The testimony to our greatness is in our willingness to struggle.
Yes. Gentlemen, I am forever grateful to both of you for the
Well, I'm
opportunity
incredibly
to
grateful
have
to
shared
both
this
of you, and
experience.
I'm incredibly grateful to Howard for more reasons than time will permit here for me to mention. But to add one to the already large list of the eternal gratitudes that I owe Howard is his enlisting me in this endeavor.
He brought us together.
And so
Exactly.
I mean,
Exactly,
now
gentlemen.
that we've been enlightened by all of us, but Josh especially, you can see why I thought he'd be the perfect guy for this.
Definitely.